Before we begin, this video is being brought to you by Petmosphere, the only app that you'll ever need for anything pet related. If you're a pet lover like myself, feel free to swing by petmosphere.com and download it for free on both iOS and Android devices anywhere you are in the world. So good to be seen, and it's even better to see you. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. If you're just now tuning in for the first time and love motivation and everything veganism related, then you've definitely come to the right place. So feel free to swing by right now, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit the bell so that you don't miss a single one of my videos. So admittedly, this is a very important video, one I have been meaning to make for a longest time because there are just so many ways to go about our activism. And I figured that today's topic would be the many different aspects of veganism, the many ways you can actually be an activist, and some of my favorite activists within the very different realms of activism that we have here in this community. So let's go ahead and dive right into number one on my list, and it happens to be a group of people that I have come to label as the educators. Now, why the educators? These are fellow activists that are both factually and intellectually sound. They are very well researched and they are very informative with their delivery. Typically, from what I have seen, they spend a lot of time behind the scenes gathering information to the best of their abilities and putting it into a very attractive educational package that is the most engaging, the likes of which I have seen so far. From what I have been able to see from social media, they would much rather put out quality content than bang out 7, 8, 9, 10 videos a week. So they definitely value quality over quantity. And a few of the names that immediately make my list of educators are the widely known Ed Winters. You guys know him as Earthling Ed, and fellow YouTuber Mike the Vegan. They are both very intellectually sound. They take their time with their delivery, and they are concise and precise by bringing facts and bringing to the table a lot of statistics that this community can find very helpful. Number two on the list is a group of people I'm calling the Boxers. Now, why did I choose the Boxers? So admittedly, these are also some outreaching fellow activists who roll with the punches. They like to go on the counterattack. They are rebuttal geniuses, and finally, they are not afraid to let you have it. These are people that wait for the perfect moment to strike, wait until someone is saying something very silly, only to use that same argument against them. Like, for example, if somebody says, "Hey, but I like the taste," they are quick to say, "Hey, but is their life worth more than your taste buds?" To which the answer, of course, is a yes. So they are very keen, and they have their ear always on the grindstone, and they are very quick to jab, and then give you the uppercut. Now, I personally prefer this style of activism because it shows that as an activist, you are listening to what the person has to say so that you can counter attack and counter jab and punch at their silly logic with a good argument. Now, a couple of names of the Boxers that I'm referring to are fellow activists. Paul Bashir, you might know him as the founder of Anonymous for the Voiceless, organization on whose behalf I do activism, as well as the very cool Joey Armstrong. They are two Australian activists that have absolutely no remorse in telling you how it is, like it is, and showing you what actually happens behind closed doors. So those are the Boxers. Number three on my list are a group of people that I am aptly calling the Zen Masters. Now, why the Zen Masters? I call these folks the Zen Masters because they are even-keeled. They are calm, cool, and collected. They hardly ever break during an outreach or argument online. And honestly, they are very patient with their approach. Now, I prefer this type of activism when it comes to activism online because I normally don't have the control that I would in person. Right now, we're obviously during quarantine, so not a lot of cubes of truth going on, not a lot of outreach in person can take place. And so it's very important that when you're engaging somebody online, you take the Zen master approach. You try to work your way around it. You don't lose your cool. You remain calm and collected, and you try to figure out a way to engage these people and kind of like not lose them, because if you show too much anger online as opposed to being a Zen master, you're not really going to get through to a person that's 3,000 miles away on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram or any other social media. Now, a couple of the names that I prefer that encapsulate this sort of approach are James Aspey. You guys know him very well as Seb Alex. They are two of the most even-keeled activists that I have come across. I enjoy their content quite a bit, and in case you haven't followed them, please, I highly recommend that you do so. Fourth on my list are a group of people that I am aptly calling the Rebels. So the Rebels are fellow activists that enjoy being the anti-ruler, right? They don't like to follow the rules. They're always very daring when it comes to their activism. And finally, they make you question the status quo, right? Now, a couple of things come to mind, namely disruptions, right? These are activists that have absolutely no remorse and no inhibition when it comes to doing activism in the form of disruptions and, putting up posters all across billboard signs and street signs and whatnot. And they're obviously very fond of going to supermarkets and fully dressed in white apparel with fake blood all over themselves, and they are not afraid of pretty much anything when it comes to activism. And two of the most widely known names that like to conduct this sort of behavior on behalf of the animals are Rob Banks and Tash Peterson. Tash goes by Vegan Booty on Instagram and most social media, and they have been all over my newsfeed, and I love it because they have absolutely no remorse. Rob can be seen putting posters up of animal cruelty. He specifically likes to follow people around that wear fur jackets across New York City, and Tash happens to have absolutely no remorse when it comes to supermarket and calling out the meat section for what it really is. Last but not least, number 5 on my list is a group of people, I should say organizations, that I'm calling the Shockers. So if you know me, 9 times out of 10, most of my content on social media is geared towards psychology, of getting people to think for themselves as opposed to just absorbing all the energy and propaganda that I've been led to believe is true. Now, why did I choose Shockers? That's because these organizations unfortunately have the daunting task of showing you physically what happens behind slaughterhouse walls. These are people that shock you literally with their content. They're mostly based on shock therapy. They like depicting the unpleasant side of what actually happens to these animals when nobody's watching. And so these organizations can be very tricky to follow because it's obviously footage that not a lot of people want to see. But at the end of the day, that 1 time out of 10, it's not a bad idea to just have a reminder of what it's actually like for these animals. And it's fuel to the fire of activism when you're down in the dumps and think that nobody's listening. I highly encourage that you follow Shockers, much like PETA, the Save movement, as well as our very own Anonymous for the Voiceless. Founder Paul Bashir has been discussed in this video. So these are all organizations that have taken it upon themselves to show you these graphic images, which are very hard to see, but very important to see nonetheless. So there you have it, guys. 5 of my favorite forms of activism, along with some of the names that actually perform that type of activism. Did any one of them stand out for you? That's my question of the day. Were you inspired by any of these people? Were you motivated to take action in your neck of the woods? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If this is the first time that we're seeing each other, I'd like to take you out on a second date. Make sure to hit that bell on the way out, and I will see you in the next video.